This week in movies, we're talking about Funny People, the next big comedy from Judd Apatow, who directed 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, but has been the man behind almost every single comedy that has been coming out in the last 5 years.
I think they're pushing this as not a comedy. That's every press outlet I've seen has been like, this is not a comedy.
Yeah, it's a dramedy.
Yeah.
But Judd Apatow got his start working on the Ben Stiller Show and then creating Freaks and Geeks, which is where all these actors that we're seeing in all these movies, have all sort of come from.
And was Adam Sandler's roommate when they first moved to LA, or New York, or wherever the hell they were?
Yeah, he was Adam Sandler's roommate. And all this stuff is important for you guys to hear because Funny People is about Seth Rogen as an up-and-coming stand-up comic who gets a chance to help write jokes for a huge megastar played by Adam Sandler, who finds out that he has some terminal disease. Hugely autobiographical movie, as you can connect the dots from what we were just describing about Judd Apatow, who started out in stand-up comedy and was obsessed with stand-up comedy and roommate with Adam Sandler when he was hitting it big. But the movie also contains a lot of autobiographical elements in terms of there's actual footage of these guys from when they were younger.
His wife is Judd Apatow's actual wife and actual kids.
Actual wife and actual kids are in the movie, as they were also in Knocked Up, both
and 40-Year-Old Virgin and almost all of his movies.
I don't know if they were in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, she was the crazy drunk chick.
Oh, his wife and kids were wife and kids in Knocked Up and also in this movie.
Right.
Yes. So, Alex, what did you think of Funny People?
Wow. I want to say that it was a great movie. I want people to go see this movie. It's really, in my opinion, two different movies, and the second movie fails for me. The first movie is this great story of this guy who theoretically has everything: riches, fame, an amazing house, like has it all. Chicks, lots of chicks, and finds out that he's dying, and then hires this sort of like apprentice to kind of come in, less for him to actually be working and more for him to just kind of have somebody and kind of try to relearn to be excited and you know, love life again and all this stuff. And to me, that ride with him and Seth Rogen was amazing and poignant and fucking funny and everything. Then, a little over halfway through, it becomes a movie of a guy trying to screw this chick's life up. It's like everything he learned, all of that learning and growing an amazing movie gets thrown out the window, and you're shoved into this situation that's just sort of awkward and weird and doesn't really connect with the movie that you've just seen. And I thought, you know, the culmination of him, like that cameo-laden cool party in the middle, I mean, that could have been like the culminating scene of the movie, and it would have been a great movie for me. So once it gets to the like ex-girlfriend who has a good husband and great kids, and then just kind of tries to screw that whole thing up for him, the movie falls flat. So inevitably, I didn't really think it was a great movie, but the first part was so good that I think people should see it.
Before I toss to you, Jeff, I also want to mention huge cast in this movie, and Jonah Hill is also in it, and Seth Rogen. They too are also got their start in stand-up comedy, and both of them were sort of discovered, or Seth Rogen was discovered by Apatow, and Jonah Hill was discovered by, maybe it was Dustin Hoffman, I forget. He had a story of being discovered. So there really is such as everyone involved. This is an autobiography for not just the writer and filmmaker.
Yeah, I disagree very much with Al. I think this is one of the best movies of the year, and I think it might end up being one of my favorite movies in my list of favorite movies of all time. I absolutely adore this movie. It feels intensely personal, and I think for me as a viewer, as a enjoyer of art, when I see the artist make something that is so intensely personal and feels like it is kind of raw and revealing, it makes the experience incredibly rich. And I think that what I really like about it is that it doesn't feel like every other comedy that is a formula. There's absolutely nothing formulaic about this movie. It is a story that just has ebbs and flows and rises and falls, and it is a long movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
40.
Longer even than I thought. But it doesn't feel long to me. I loved so much of it. It is funny and emotional and heartfelt, and I found myself like choking up and then laughing in the exact next moment. I love how so much of it is handled. You know, when I say personal, like you mentioned, there's a lot of actual footage of their early careers, home videos and stuff. But there's also this feeling of being personal in the sense that it comes from within this experience that you feel like these people have actually had. In the sense that a lot of stuff happens off screen. There could have easily in this movie been that moment where you see the Entertainment Tonight thing of like, oh, he's dying, and we never step outside what these people's lives are, and it feels like it's filtered through their emotional experience. I absolutely love the movie, and I found myself thinking about it in the days since we've seen it. It's just a special, special film, I think.
Well, I didn't love 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. I think this is by far his best movie. Also his best looking, shot by Janusz Kaminski.
Right.
This is Janusz's first film. Janusz is Steven Spielberg's cinematographer. This is his first movie not working with Steven Spielberg since Schindler's List. And it's greatly improved Apatow's filmmaking. So I think it's his best movie. Having said that, I completely agree with Alex. What's exciting about it is that it is unconventional, and it really fulfills on the experiment that I think a lot of filmmakers go through. And what if I weren't to follow proper structure? And that is to say, some people that sounds a little bit mechanical, but all art has structure. Even Picasso's works follow structure. And this, in it not following, it not at all acknowledging where it's going, it really meandered for me, and I never quite knew what I was trying to get out of it in the second half. As you point out, it's sort of two films. And in the end, when I came to understand what I was supposed to take away from it, I felt like I did not need to spend all that time to get that out of it. Intellectually, basically, it spends the first half of the movie on the story that the premise is, and you said it, and then the next half of the movie is a more personal relationship, and they really are two very different stories. One sort of finishes and then one sort of starts.
Piggybacks on the
next. Now, the second one certainly does reflect on the overall thing, but I
couldn't have happened without the first one.
But it spends so much time in that area that I had to restart my feelings for characters and expectations, and
I couldn't disagree more with you guys, because I feel like that is exactly why I loved the movie, because it wasn't just this character having this formulaic learning experience. It's like life. It comes through a moment of feeling like you have it all figured out, and then the circumstances of life are much more complicated than that. They're more complicated than a 40-Year-Old Virgin type of a movie where it's like A plus B equals C. This isn't that at all. It's striving for something much more ambitious.
But I don't think if you cut the back half of this movie off that any of us would sit here and think it was just a formulaic comedy. I mean, that's not doing justice to the first 2/3 of this movie, which was amazing and had its own turns. And there were times when you were like, I get their relationship is great, and then boom, he's like, no, I
loved that second half. I loved what he discovered and what we found out, and how it set itself up like a normal movie of like, oh well, he's gonna. I don't want to reveal anything, but how it subverts that, and it feels so much truer. And
I just think for me, intellectually, I enjoyed that intellectual thought, but it didn't play for me, and I just think it spent too much time in the wrong areas for it to
Especially because it was so great. I mean, there were so many moments, which is why for me it's hard, because I could say, go see the movie, but the last half you're going to be
It's divisive. It's divisive here, and it's dividing opinions already. So